Welcome to another episode of The Future Live. This is Raw. If you just caught us a few seconds ago, we went down, we had some errors, and that's because everything is totally raw here. Thank you for joining us. We just finished up some crazy live stream with Mr. Dan Mace, and we have a very special guest in the studio today. Who am I talking about? Today I'm talking about Madelynn De La Rosa. She is a filmmaker and editor. She runs a YouTube channel that is just shy of 1 million subs. She's passionate about French film, sustainable fashion, and veganism. And today we're going to talk about her story, her creative process, and talking about making money and opportunities for creators out there. And then we'll get into creative block and mental health. Like I said earlier, I am not Christo. I am Matthew Encina, subbing in for him because Mr. Christo is sick. And we're trying to preserve his voice because everything that comes out of that mouth is gold. And we got to preserve that as much as possible.
Don't feed his ego.
Well, without further ado, let's welcome Madelynn onto the show.
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh!
for being
You
here.
have raving fans
Yes,
here. I love
we
it.
do.
So many fans.
Oh
I
my
was talking
gosh!
about how
All right,
nervous I
everybody,
was.
calm down. Calm down, people. Madelynn, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's start at the beginning, Madelynn. I want to know your story. You're here with us today. Can we go back to the beginning? How did you get started in the YouTube game as a filmmaker?
So I edited my first video when I was in middle school. I think I was in 8th grade, and that was just on iMovie. And then throughout middle school and high school, I would make videos of my sister and I, or my friends and I would post them to YouTube. And then when I was 19, I decided to actually start like a public channel where I was doing fashion and beauty stuff. So that's how I started. And it became a full-time thing 3 years ago, and now I'm just kind of winging it and freelancing.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
so 3 years ago. There's a lot that happened over those past 3 years.
Yeah.
When you went pro, right? Before you started your channel, and I saw in your feed that you did a lot of fashion hauls and beauty product reviews and makeup tutorials, and then you got an opportunity somewhere along the way. You got picked up as an Ipsy creator?
Yeah, so I just graduated college, and I got an email from someone at Ipsy, and they asked if I wanted to join their team, and it was really small. I think there were only 10 of us total, who they flew out to LA, and we got paid salary and everything, so it was my first proper job outside of college, and I moved out to LA from the East Coast. My phone's ringing.
It's
Sorry.
we're raw, man. It's all
Who
good.
did that? Oh, okay. Never mind.
So I flew out to LA right after I graduated, and I had this 3-year thing with Ipsy, and they really helped elevate my channel and helped me grow. And we had a studio in Santa Monica that I could shoot at, so I utilized that a lot. And I kind of started playing around with film and stuff during that 3 years. So yeah.
Cool. So for those people who don't know, what is Ipsy?
Ipsy, it's similar to Birchbox. It's like a subscription service, but with Ipsy it's different. It's not like a what is it called when like Maker or something?
Is that like a
You know what
customized
I'm
subscription
saying?
box?
Maker
Or?
isn't a thing anymore, but they bring on YouTubers.
Oh,
Oh.
I know what you're talking about. Like Maker Studio? Is that
Yes.
those,
Right.
Yeah, it's like it was acquired by Disney or something. And
Yeah,
then they
what is that
disappeared.
called? I don't know what. Well, I don't know what the.
Multi-channel platforms or something like that? No?
No, because Ipsy, the way I understand it, right, their primary business is subscription, beauty subscription, right? So they'll send you products in the mail. On top of that, they're making content. And how I understood it is they brought on creators like you, makeup
Right.
artists from
Yeah.
across the globe, and to bring them on as people that they essentially incubate. They provide all of the tools and services needed so that they can empower all these different YouTube personalities and makeup artists to grow their own channels and followings. But at the same time, it sounds like there was a little bit of an exchange where, because they provided that to you, that gave you a lot of up in production quality, extra help, and also sounds like there was a little bit of development on your channel.
Right, yeah, it's a whole thing, and it was a small group of us, so there, only like 10 of us that did it. But yeah, I was with them for 3 years.
Cool. Yeah, and I think in that time, there's a very interesting change that I saw in your channel. I started all the way at the beginning, and I started working my way up. So I definitely saw the DIY look in the first maybe year or two of your channel, and then it looked like as soon as you got picked up from Ipsy, the production quality just jumped way high, but it was still you, it was still your personality, your flavor, and it looked like they just provided a megaphone and amplified that.
Yeah, I mean, I started my channel when I was 19, so I was still, like, YouTube at the time was very, like, just sitting down, talking to the camera, just talking about stuff that you bought, and so I was a part of that in the beginning, and then eventually I started getting into like vegan and cruelty-free makeup and beauty stuff, and then and kind of taking a more serious, not serious approach, but like a different approach. Like I didn't want to just talk about clothes and makeup, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And then shortly after, Ipsy picked me up, and that was one of my conditions. I was like, I'm only working with cruelty-free and vegan products. So
wow, that's crazy. I mean, that was your first full-time, big gig where somebody's gonna pay you, and then you had demands, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Coming from starting at 19 and then doing your own thing. I want to go and fill in the gap between those two opportunities where you started as a creator and then you got on the radar of Ipsy. How did that happen? How did they find you?
I have no idea. My channel was so small. I think I had my channel for like 3 or 4 years before they found me, and I only had like 94,000 subscribers.
That's a lot.
But in like 4 years, I feel like channels grow so fast now. Yeah, and I've had my channel for like 7 years now, and it's like slowly growing. But yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, I mean, you look like you came on early on. They were just looking for somebody who's just growing that they could nurture and really develop under their brand.
Yeah.
Cool. So then on there, you mentioned something earlier that within your 3 years working with Ipsy, that you started to experiment a little bit more in filmmaking. And I saw you have a couple of films that you've made shot on, was that 8mm or 16mm?
Yeah, I've done both. So I started out with Super 8, and like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and I have like a ton of shorts with Super 8 film because I feel like it's so easy to use. It's like super easy friendly, Super 8, and then I wanted to go further, so I started with 16mm film. So I have a couple of things shot on 16, but yeah.
Cool. And what made you move to that, coming from digital cameras?
I guess just being interested in film, just in general, and just wanting to expand and learn more, and just like wanting to do something different.
Okay. So let's talk about that, wanting to do something different, because here you are, somebody who just started her own channel, started talking about makeup and fashion. How did you find your voice in this space? Because I feel like it's so saturated now. There's lots of opportunities for people to just capture that. Today, like, how did you find your voice in this space? Because I feel like you're quite unique when I look at all the other, makeup artists or just people in your realm.
Yeah. Wait, can you repeat it? Sorry.
Oh yeah, no
what
worries.
Makes you so hot?
Yeah.
I'll just speak it plainly.
Like how did you develop your style and flavor? Like, how did you develop your identity?
Well, I think it all stems from me wanting to just do good. Like like starting with the cruelty-free and vegan stuff. I'm very adamant about that, and I won't use any makeup brands that have a parent company that tests on animals. And then so that was makeup, and then I became vegan when I moved to LA, so then I would talk about like veganism, and then the last year I started doing sustainable fashion, so now I don't do anything having to do with fast fashion. It's so in a way I guess it's like activism, but in a creative way. because I've just always been that way. I went to school to become an elementary school teacher. So that's what I have my degree in. And I was working at a human rights nonprofit before I moved to LA. So that's all like super important to me. And then making videos has just always been fun. So I'm trying to like mush the two together and make something out of it. So I think also I haven't given in to what's popular on YouTube. I think a lot of like, I mean, you guys know what's on YouTube now.
Tell us, please.
I feel like I lose brain cells every time I try watching something. So
it's true.
Yeah, it's just it's not, you don't gain anything from it visually. Right. You're not learning anything. It's just a bunch of noise, and it's a lot of drama. And I don't care about any of that. So I've just continued making stuff that I think is important and I think is cool. And I have my own little corner on the internet. So.
Which there's plenty of real estate for everybody, honestly, to have
totally.
a voice. The internet is forever. The internet is ever scaling, right?
Yeah.
And so the things that I heard with you is that you have an interest in filmmaking, and you have your things that you're passionate about, which are a couple things in activism. And I think what I heard is that the way you stood out is you were able to take a stand on those issues, where I know a lot of people, they like to stay in this neutral zone where they don't want to say anything that could potentially harm them from future sponsors, or polarize their audience too much. It sounds like you were very confident in understanding what you were about, what you took a stand in. I mean, at 19, starting your channel and then making demands to a company who's willing to pay you, I think that's pretty brave. And I think seeing that you just took a stand, even though it could be polarizing, you found that you have an audience, you do have an audience in your corner of the internet, and you've built on that, almost 1 million subscribers full.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah.
I have a question. So Madelynn talked about having her own voice and not listening to outside people, but at what point do you start to listen to your audience, or do you only do the things that you want to do?
Well, I think I mostly only do things that I want to do. Obviously, I want to make them happy as well, and give them what they want to see. But as a general rule, I think I just kind of focus on what I want, because I think when you start giving in to what your audience wants, things can just get weird, and
Yes.
Yeah. So I really try to like just do whatever. And hopefully people watch it and they like it.
Yes. Well, apparently they are, so there's no question about that. I'm just sitting here looking at your numbers, so jealous. Just like green with envy right now. I want to just say something real quick, just to make you feel a little bit more welcome. And Madelynn admitted to us a little bit before, she's not used to doing live, so guys, we're going to try to show her love and support. The Archimedes effect said, "Bonjour, Madelynn." So it's like you must have fans. Bonjour. Bonjour.
There you go.
That was nice.
Cool. So, I want to talk about that since we're getting on this French tip. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is your passion for French cinema. And I was wondering, where did that come from? Where did that stem from?
I have no idea. The first French film, or like French New Wave film I saw, was A Woman is a Woman, and that was like in my early 20s. And I just thought it was so clever. I think that one is by Godard. But yeah, they're just shot really well. They're visually beautiful. And the way that they edit everything is just so cool and different. So that was the first French New Wave film I saw, and that kind of got me interested in filmmaking. And it just kind of grew from there. Like Godard and Truffaut and Eric Romer are all really wonderful directors.
Was it those directors and those films that made you go from wanting to be an elementary school teacher to being a full-time creative person that makes videos?
No, I was always, I had so many jobs while I was making videos. Mm-hmm. I was going to school full-time for elementary ed. I was substitute teaching. I was working at the Apple store part-time, and I was making videos when I could.
Right.
I never thought that this would be a job, ever. And I've still kind of been debating if I want to go back to teaching and stuff. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, that's interesting. So we didn't unpack that at all yet. Is about wow, I didn't realize like you did all this stuff, and I mean the other side of it is you wanting to be a teacher, and you went to school for that. And our channel, we're very passionate about teaching here. We're trying to pass along as much good information as possible. I'm curious for you that now that you're considering it again after coming on this past couple of years of working as a successful YouTuber, what do you like about teaching?
Well, I was doing elementary ed, and they're just so sweet, and they're little sponges, so they're really taking in everything that you're teaching them. And I wanted to really focus on like just like all the stuff like that's like super important. Like we could have like little meditations in the class if they wanted to, or like we could go on field trips to landfills and they could learn about where all their trash ends up, like good stuff like that. But I think in the years that I subbed, you learn how sort of bad the school systems are, and how certain schools aren't funded properly, and I guess it's a little bit discouraging, but I do love teaching, and I think it's really important.
Right. So what I heard there is that you want to influence these very young minds that are very open, and you want to fill it with good.
Yeah.
Right? The things that a better way than
that's our mission, Matthew. What are you talking about? Are you talking to me or are you talking to Madelynn right now?
I mean, that's
we want to fill young, impressionable minds with good. We want to try to reduce the toxic dumbing down of culture through YouTube.
God,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah? That's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Madelynn, you have this platform, YouTube. Why aren't you doing that there?
Ooh.
Teaching?
Yeah.
I guess you are, though, aren't you?
I think in a way, yeah.
I mean, about this whole cruelty-free makeup that there's alternatives.
Because I think sometimes it can get a little bit preachy when, especially when it comes to veganism and sustainable fashion. So I think it's kind of like, this is how I do stuff, and then I'm going to make a cool video out of it.
Yes.
So
That's good.
Yeah, so David Coe is saying, I like her. She has a great personality for YouTube, genuine and stylish. Again, David, are you talking about me? All right. Just positive vibes, what I'm seeing in the chat right now.
Yeah, everybody's
cool.
super happy you're here. So there you go.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess back to my question. I know there's a feeling that you don't want to be too preachy with the things that you believe in, and I totally agree with you there, because if you are too strong-minded in your way, you don't listen to others, and other people feel like they're getting attacked.
Yeah.
Right? And it sounds like you have a very soft touch with this in terms of, well, this is what I do. I'm not telling you what to do. This is just how I do it. And I think this is a better way.
Yeah.
But, going back to the idea of teaching, since you were formally trained and you want to influence young minds, and I know on YouTube, there are tons of young minds on there. A lot of our audience is super young in their teen years, surprisingly. Paying attention to Chris Do talking about high-level business stuff. I don't know why they're tuning in, but there's a lot of influential, or there's a lot of sponges online. And I'm just curious, have you ever thought of doing more with your platform? Because I know you're kind of figuring that stuff out right now.
Yeah, I have thought about making some sort of curriculum to teach women how to edit videos, because I think it's something that not a lot of women think that they can do, or they think it's just such a boys club, filmmaking, video editing. And so I've kind of been thinking about that, and I think that would be super cool.
I agree.
Seeing more diverse voices in the world is good for society in general. 100%.
Yeah.
So with that, with your videos that you have online, you're editing everything, right?
Yeah, I edit everything myself. Yeah.
Shoot, edit,
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
End to end. Do
Yeah.
you have a team at all?
No. I
He
wish.
just tested you to see if you're a liar. She just told you I do everything myself. She's like, so what's your team like? Oh yeah, so Bobby and Mary edit for me. Like, oh, gotcha. This is like gotcha journalism right here. Okay. No, it's all good, Matthew.
Just trying to unpack it.
Hey, Michael Kenyon says, you say that French cinema influenced your style. What would you define your own work as?
That's a good question.
Define my own work as?
Yeah, like you like French cinema, new wave.
Yeah.
And then how would you define your own style?
I have no idea.
It's cool style, guys.
What do other people say about your style?
They say I'm like Wes Anderson and Amelie had a love
Oh.
child.
That's a
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to pigeonhole you into that corner because that's what I thought.
That's an okay pigeonhole.
No,
Yeah,
that's what I
pigeonhole
thought, and I really love your intro video when you
Yes.
land on your channel. It's a 1-minute video introducing who you are and all the things that you like, but it's very successful because it says everything about you. So I think you are very aware of who you are as a brand.
Yeah. That was 2 years ago almost. It's crazy. And that took 6 months to do for like 60 seconds.
Wow.
It took so long to do. But yeah.
And is that something that you still resonate when you watch that video? Do you feel like that's still you?
Yeah, I love that video. I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
I like it too. I'm glad. All right.
Here's another question. I'm sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So how do you deal with fame? Like, you've got 1 million subscribers on your channel, which is insane.
Okay.
sorry, that was not a pregnant pause.
No,
That was
yeah.
just like, yeah, that's the question. That's coming from D-O or D0.
Okay, so when I joined Ipsy, it's a subscription service, and in order to get ahead and get your glam bag sooner, you could subscribers could automatically subscribe to everyone's social channels.
Oh.
So my numbers are a little bit off, a little bit.
What do you mean?
I think my subscriber number is a little bit inflated because of Ipsy.
I see, because they send a lot of traffic your way.
Yeah, and just kind of automatically going right there and then not really knowing who I was or paying attention or anything. So I guess it's exciting. I don't know. I've gone past 1 million, now it's kind of like going down. So second time's the charm,
Yeah,
I guess.
There you
We'll
go.
see.
Hey, at least you're there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my numbers are a little funky. So
That explains things. We need an Ipsy in our community. Ipsy, call me. I don't do makeup. Well, maybe I can.
Yeah, I think
hey,
you
I'm
can.
open.
Do you have
flexible.
Do you have a lot of people like in LA, since you live in LA, like coming up to you, or do you have a lot of people
Ooh,
in
yeah.
your social media trying to get you to do things, or like reaching out to you a lot, since you have a pretty wide audience?
Good one, Ricky.
On
Good one.
Instagram as
You didn't
well.
let her off the hook. I like that.
do people say hi to me?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like,
like,
hey,
do-
Madeline.
Madeline,
Hey.
Yeah,
I love your
people
channel.
Bigger
will-
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come up to me and say hi, and it's always really fun and nice. And
All positive, no negatives yet.
no,
Nice.
no, everyone's super nice, which I'm really thankful
That'll
for.
change after today.
Thanks.
Yeah. Ricky, just chill out, all right? Chill out. So, what's the weirdest or most unusual fan interaction that you've had? Right? What?
I don't
happened
think I
there?
have one. I think, well, a couple of years ago, I was in American Apparel, and I hadn't gotten ready or anything, so I already felt gross. And then I was in I just got out of the fitting room, and I think I just popped a pimple or something.
Oh my god, authenticity. It's getting real right now.
This
Where
is
was
raw.
the pimple?
This
Where was
is
the
raw.
pimple?
Oh, my forehead!
Oh my
or
God!
something, Probably.
So you're just like, I'm Sikh faith, and we're all good.
Yeah, I just wanted to get out of there, and then I
Yeah.
got stopped by
Oh my
somebody,
God.
and then I think
It's too
somebody
good.
else came up because somebody else had.
Oh,
previous-
chain reaction.
I was so embarrassed. Anyway, yeah.
That's why I never leave the house without this on. Wow. Okay,
Good-
so
good
you just want to
skin.
like get in, get out, do something.
Yeah, and I got stopped twice, I think.
Oh my
With
gosh.
the pimple.
You should just talk to everybody like, yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about right now.
Just thinking really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They walk away. God, Madeline is just like this deep thinker. She's so soulful. Oh my gosh.
I should have done that.
No, you did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Laura Faye wants to know, how do you think we can encourage young female creatives in this industry, since you brought that up?
Good question.
How to encourage them?
Yeah.
I think your channel does that, but
Yeah, I think it's
works
just
is-
seeing-
What can you say to, like, look into the camera right now, just talk to those female creators right now, because
we have a lot of designers and a lot of people that are scared sometimes to get into this field because it is a boys club.
yeah.
Yeah,
Speak
okay.
to me, Madeline.
Talk to Erica.
You just have to do it. Like, I think, I know that sounds really stupid, but I think fear gets in the way of a lot of people. But once you start, that's like the first step, and that's the biggest step. And yeah, I don't know. You just have to do it, honestly. I get messages all the time of girls, they'll write me on Instagram and they'll be like, hey, I really want to start a YouTube channel, but so-and-so and so, and they list off all of these excuses like, I don't have someone to film for me, or I don't have a good camera, and it's like, what are you talking, like, just do it.
Say that it doesn't matter what gear you have.
No, it really doesn't, though.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
As long as they have a camera.
Your
Which-
phone.
You have your phone.
Your
You have a
phone
phone.
shoots 4K.
That's
That's
a
all you need.
camera.
Those are so underrated. I talked about this in my last video, but yeah, Tangerine was shot on an iPhone 5S, like a whole movie shot on an iPhone. So there's like really.
Is that Claire Foy movie that she was in? What is that? Oh,
Don't
man.
try and get all
Okay.
artsy with us and like name drop like that.
No, there was another movie.
Look
shot
at how
with an
everybody's like
iPhone.
doesn't even know you right now. It's
Okay.
like, Ricky,
All right, man.
don't try and kid in on that.
I'm just trying to get a job.
The whole point was
Just trying
it was
to
shot on an
insert myself.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Relax.
Okay.
Relax.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a point to that, and we're actually experimenting on our channel right now. If you watch the last 2-3 videos from Mr. Ben Burns on our channel, it was all shot on iPhone, and he even edited it in Adobe Rush, which is on the iPhone as well.
Oh, that's intense.
So,
Yeah.
so the thing is, it's like you're right. There are no barriers now, and you could just pick up your phone, this most intelligent, most powerful thing in your pocket, and you could just start making today.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, like you mentioned earlier, that there's room for everybody, and it's so true. There is. I know it seems oversaturated and everything, but people are always looking for new voices, and yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. So we understand that tools don't matter, and that's an excuse, and the excuse is because there's a mindset problem.
Right.
But like, let's just turn to the younger, more or less confident version of you. If you can speak to that person, the person was like, oh, I don't want to get it on YouTube. There's a bunch of creeps out there, and if I do something, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to share that. I'm going to have to live with that forever. How do you overcome some of that mindset, whether you're male, female, or gender non-binary? I mean, you're just sitting there thinking, I don't want to expose myself. It's the vulnerable part of the artist that preys into that, or just gets into that fear mindset. Can you help us understand that and help out some people here?
I think it's worth doing regardless of what happens. There's a quote that I wrote on Twitter.
I could look it up.
Oh, you can? Okay. It's something like, cue music. I don't know.
Roughly, just what's the, I can't log on it. The general concept.
I'm reading The Artist's Way right now, which is a whole book on blocked artists. And there are like assignments and everything that you can do. And she just talks about being a blocked creative and how you should, if you do it, you win, and if you fail, you still win.
Whoa,
Something
that's
like
deep.
that.
Hold on, say that one more time.
If you do it, you win, and if you fail, you still win.
It's a win-win situation.
Right, because you still did it.
What does fail stand for, Chris?
First attempt in learning.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got it from him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you're right. Like, all of us here have had to pop our cherry in terms of being in front of the camera. And I think we've gone through the cycle. Everybody who's usually behind the camera has now been in front of the camera. It's been fantastic. And I think everybody's learned a little bit from that. I mean, Ricky, you had your video come out a few weeks ago. How was that experience for you?
I liked to be behind the camera, so it was pretty intense. But learning from it was a huge experience for me. So I think going forward, it's just getting over that first one. The anxiety of the first one is always going to be worse than it actually is, than what the event actually is. So just getting the first one done.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, you mentioned earlier you're reading a book, The Artist's Way, and you're talking about, I think, creative block. And recently on your channel, you had a video, I think it was called I Don't Like This, and you're talking about a little bit of a hiatus, a creative hiatus that you had. How do you deal with creative block?
Okay, so this year has been really rough, this year in particular, and I think I was just kind of anticipating the end of that long contract, that 3-year contract, and yeah, just feeling like I didn't really have anybody in my corner necessarily, and so I was just letting fear get in the way, which is why I started the whole 30-day vlogging challenge. I'm on day 8 or day 9. So yeah, I think when you stop making stuff and are so in your head, that's when you start feeling like off. And I think the first step to getting out of that is just to make something, anything, and it'll pick back up again. But yeah.
And I do this too. Like when I'll have a creative block, I'll just make something, but it doesn't always see the light of day.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, is that part of that process where you have to make something and put it out there and live with it, or is it just a matter of just making something and nobody else sees it?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of making something, not necessarily putting out into the world. You don't have to, but yeah, just taking small steps to slowly get yourself out of that funk, because otherwise you're just in your head. That's all it is. It's just fear.
Right.
There's a great quote, I forget how it goes, but it talks about how it's easy to steer something that's already moving as opposed to starting something that's stopped.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get back on track if you're slowly going somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey, you contributed to the show. Good job,
Hey,
Mickey.
man,
That was
trying.
good. I like that. It's impossible to steer the boat if it's sitting still.
Exactly.
You're just turning the wheel.
But if you take that first step, then you can maneuver and get in the right direction.
Right. So then with that, Madelynn, so if you're making stuff and it's not seeing the light of day, do you have a bunch of projects that are on the shelf right now that are hiding from public view?
Yeah, I have one. I have one in particular that's I shot over the summer with a friend, and it's on 16 millimeter film, and it's still just sitting there waiting to be edited. So I'll get to it.
What's your process for your videos? I know you're doing a daily vlog right now, but for some of the content that you make, how do you go about like its inception and then to its export in YouTube and stuff?
It usually starts from like a movie. Well, yeah, usually a movie or a song is what'll like spark something.
Nice.
And then I'll just like jot everything down in a notebook, try and figure out what shots I want. And I think the title of the video is really fun to figure out too. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Usually music is what does it. Yeah. And watching new movies.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then where do you go from there? So you get inspired by a movie or film and you start jotting down some ideas. And when you're jotting down these ideas, what does that look like? Are those shots? Are those feelings? Like what do those ideas look like?
Yeah, it's just a lot of doodling and yeah, I guess like certain shots that I want. Yeah.
And then you said the other part of it was trying to find a title for your film. And, you know, I think I always think about that pretty deeply, too, because it's very important when somebody is looking at your work. It helps frame it and give it context. So what do you, when you think about your titles, what's important for you there?
What's important?
Like, I mean, how do you think about that? Is that
I like hearing your squirming sound effects. Everybody just be quiet and let her squirm. Go ahead, I want to hear that.
If you want me to mute him, I can.
Yes, please.
Well, I enjoy it. I appreciate you is what I'm saying.
I think like song titles really help because they're always like so clever. I don't know how they do it, but I usually get inspiration from song titles.
And then those would end up being the title of your films, or just some
variation of it, yeah.
So you're not worried about like the search traffic or anything like that. You're just trying to find something that's clever for you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, so from that, I mean, so I think I got us to the point where we're understanding the conception of the film. What happens after that? So now you have a rough idea of some of the things that you want to capture. You have your title for the film that helps frame it. What's next?
And then I decide whether I want to shoot it on film or on digital, and what's needed for that. Like if I need somebody to help me, like if I'm going to be the subject, and if I need somebody to help me shoot it. And then location scouting is a huge thing. I hate location scouting. I know some people like that, but I find it really tedious and difficult. So yeah, and then shooting and then editing.
So what determines whether you're going to go film or digital?
Good question.
I prefer film, so if I could shoot on...
So French. Oui.
I don't know. I much prefer film. I think it looks really cool, and there's like so much nostalgia when you watch something on film. And
It's a lot more work though, isn't it? because you have to record.
Much more expensive.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yes, it's an expensive hobby to have, but I think it's totally worth it.
And you typically do silent films, right? When you're shooting on film, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about syncing and all that kind of extra jazz that would normally have to be a whole production.
You know, I think there's another thing, and I don't know if you experienced this, Madelynn, but for me, because I used to shoot film in the past too, because it's very expensive, because you can't see the results right away like you can in a digital camera, you kind of just have to think about very carefully what your shot is going to be. You shoot it and then you live with it. I don't know if you experience that as well, or if that's something that you actually enjoy in terms of the process.
Yeah, I much prefer that. It's like shooting film with photography. You're just being very particular about what it is that you're taking a photo of. You're not just going crazy. I think it can be kind of messy and it's not as special. So yeah, I just like shooting on film.
And then so you get that film and then you get that processed. And what's the term where it becomes digital? What is that term?
Developed?
No, beyond the development, when you get the film scanned.
Telecine,
right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
I know something about film.
There's not a lot of places that do that. I mean, luckily we're here in LA, and there's still a few mom and pop shops that are open. So that's part of your process too. After you shoot everything, you just drop it off. Telecine becomes digital, and then you take it to your digital editor program.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you get that on YouTube. And then so with YouTube, our buddy over here asked something about the title. Because for us, we're always trying to game YouTube. We're trying to understand the platform. And
no, YouTube, we're not doing that. What are you doing, Matthew? We are not gaming anything.
No, I mean, we're just trying to understand the platform and what's very valuable to the audience here so that we're making the most of our content. Like, that's very important to us. Is for us to get our message out there, we have to play a little bit of the game for that to get the right exposure. Does that ever come into play? Not at all.
No, I don't care.
You don't care?
I probably should, but I don't.
No, hold on a second here. I see a line of questioning here. Matthew's like, who makes your videos? Me. Now tell me who's on your team. And then she's like, tell me how you come up with titles. She goes, I just feel inspired. And Matthew's like, so tell me your strategy for titles. No, probably, actually, one of the things, Matthew's bringing up a really good point, is that perhaps, and who am I to say, because we were like in your shadow, is that you have to make your videos easier to find. So as inspirational as your titles may or may not be, nobody's searching for that. So organic search and referrals is a big way to drive traffic. And I just want to say, everybody who's watching this channel right now, make sure you go to Madelynn's channel and get her above that 1 million sub mark.
Yeah, I saw some people subscribing already.
Yeah, right away they're doing that.
Yep.
Our paltry 380,000 subscribers, guys, watch this video, go straight to Madelynn's channel and hit that subscribe button. She's an amazing human being.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is I just want to pull the contrast, because I know for us, we're trying to run this like a business, and we're very specific about how our goals and objectives. We want to get our message out there. We want to grow our influence so that, you know, we can be more impactful in the world, and that we could drive our mission. Where you, looking at your channel and how you're approaching it, sounds like more of an expression of who it is that you are inside. You're trying to put that out there, and you're approaching it more like an artist versus somebody like us who's trying to run it like a business.
Yeah, I could learn from you guys, that's for sure.
No, we can learn from you.
And you know what? I think that's why this is happening, so we can help each other out,
collab. Come on, guys. Look, you just picked up 3 subscribers. That's the power of the future right now.
Oh my
You just had 3 subscribers.
That is.
Made my day.
Yes. That's the power of the future right there. Okay, I got a totally random question for you, since we're talking about business.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so random.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, how do you make a living doing this? What is your life like? Can you help us understand the business side of your brand and how you're able to sustain a life like this?
So I feel like most YouTubers, they make money through brand deals. So brands or companies contacting them, wanting them to make content. And there's so much money in beauty. It's crazy. My pool is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more niche. But in general, it's just brands wanting to make stuff with you.
So what do we talk about financially? what kind of brand deals? What is the size of a brand deal for you? Ballpark it for us. Because I'm going to get into cosmetics right after this show. I'm just telling you right now.
The future is
guys.
switching gears.
That's right. I need a new lip gloss. I need something.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Brand deals.
I got offered
Yes.
$35,000 from a brand that I turned down because they weren't cruelty free. They had a parent company. But I mean, yeah, that just goes
one
to show
deal.
how much is in beauty.
So there you go.
Yeah. So ethics. You have to. Everybody says I have morals and ethics, but it's not until you're tested. And there's a pile of $35,000.
Yeah, that's pretty.
35,000 reasons why you're like, nah.
Yeah,
But you held your ground.
50,000. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So-
Keep going.
Yeah.
Talk about.
That's like the biggest one I've heard.
Wow.
So the
In
brands come
my-
to you,
Yeah.
and then you have to do some research on those brands to make sure that they align with your values.
If it's beauty, yeah.
Right.
And, and fashion too, yeah.
Okay.
So if it's not beauty, do you have any other opportunities that have popped up outside of that?
Yeah, I just did one with Away, which is a luggage company that's really cool. And they had a collaboration with Canon. So it was sponsored by Canon and Away. And they took us on a road trip. They had everything planned out, like places to stay. And I just shot a video for them and took a bunch of photos with the camera that they provided. And it was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hot question right now. This one I'm asking for a friend. Let's say a friend. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say who it is. How can he make a vlogging series if he's ugly?
Wait, who said this?
Are you asking this, or
No,
did somebody actually ask?
asked this. Jose Lopez is asking, how do I make a vlogging series if I'm ugly? How dare you
Or if
suggest
they're-
that I'm
well-
ugly?
We'll suggest. what
You're
about if
attacking my
they're
self-esteem
insecure?
right now.
Yeah, because you have to put
No,
yourself.
let's just don't change the question.
Okay.
I'm ugly. I'm not saying for myself. I'm ugly, Madelynn. What do I do? And you're obviously not ugly, so help us out.
Well, you don't really have to vlog talking to the camera if you don't want to.
Okay, good idea. Voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a
Right?
face for radio. Is what you're saying. You're so polite.
I don't think it matters. I don't think he's ugly. I mean,
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, what is ugly?
yeah, exactly.
So maybe there's an opportunity for us to talk about unrealistic, idealized beauty standards that are perpetuated by media. Do you want to talk about that? No, she's shaking her head.
Well,
Not biting.
no,
I got a $50,000 brand deal coming out. Stupid.
I think we could talk about that. So for me, one example is Casey Neistat. I don't think he's a handsome guy.
Oh, good one,
I
Matthew.
don't think he's
Way to go.
attractive at all. You know what I mean? And that was one of the reasons why, on face value, I just kind of judged him like, who is this weird dude talking to the camera? But after watching 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 videos of his, I just like, dude, his personality is what's inside it that's beautiful. No, his personality, his storytelling, his skill, his ability to just share what it is that's going on and put it in a very particular lens to frame it in a way that could be interesting to anybody. Something as mundane as a run can be so interesting to somebody else. So I think there's just part of it is really just the storytelling aspect of it and being that vulnerable, true self in front of the camera.
Definitely. I mean, it just goes to show like it doesn't matter how attractive you are if you're just saying your alphabet and you're not saying anything interesting. You're not going to get as many subscribers. Like there's only so far that beauty can go on YouTube.
Well,
Unless it's AMSR.
ASMR.
ASMR.
There you go. But Instagram's a little different, but definitely with YouTube, I feel like there's only so much that your looks can get you.
look, you can't be a beautiful person if you're ugly on the inside. Just the bottom line. And there's so much more to you than what you look on the outside. And here's the thing, and some people don't learn this because they're attractive when they're younger, and something happens to them, like they get a burn or something happens, and they just lose who they are. It's a shallow way to define who you are is what you look on the outside, because guess what? That changes, and it only gets worse as you get older. Trust me, I know that.
All right, that's fantastic. I wanted to circle back because I feel like we got a little diverted by
Sorry,
that
little bit.
question.
My bad.
And I wanted to make sure that we're still covering how you make money as a creator. Because and I just want to unpack it because you said that you could do sponsored deals, right? And those are pretty big chunks of change.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, is there any other forms of revenue, like your YouTube AdSense or anything? Like, I want to paint clear picture, because there's people in this world who see what we're doing and, you know, they want to do that. They have something to say. They have a piece of art. They want to put something out there. And what I'm trying to unpack for everybody is just an understanding of what that might look like for somebody like you, where that money might come from, so that they could help realize their own dreams and for something for themselves.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't make very much money off of AdSense, unfortunately.
Like how much?
You don't even want to know. It's
No, I
so
do. I
bad.
really do want to know.
You really do want to
I do.
know?
100
I don't think you want to know.
I really want to know.
You really
Because
I really do.
we barely make anything off of that.
He asked Dan Mace this morning.
No, I ask everybody these kind of
Yeah.
questions. I'm just curious. How much do you make off AdSense a month? Let's compare numbers.
$200.
That's it?
I'm serious.
Holy cow, we can help.
I make nothing.
We as a Simpleton channel make $2,600 and we're growing every day.
Oh man, I wish.
Let's talk. I
Okay.
know other people who do $8,000 to $10,000 a month on that.
I wish.
Let's talk. That's what we're about. Power and creatives.
Yeah, it's rough.
With the sound effects. Love it. Okay, so it is rough. So, you know, there's this channel on the internet. They do teach creative people on how to monetize and how to live a creative life and not have to
Oh,
compromise
really?
who they are. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You should subscribe to that channel right now. Like, comment, and subscribe, you guys. All right. No, we can help off air. We'll help you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Keep going, Matthew.
Yeah, was there anywhere else? Like you said freelance, but is that freelance just for these brand deals, or are you actually, you know, working on other films or, you know, helping other people shoot stuff?
Music videos?
Good question,
I'm
Matthew.
doing those pro bono. So,
What?
Yeah.
That's uncalled for.
Yeah, I
He
started.
started with that too.
Yeah, I started shooting music videos, or kind of like playing around with it last year, just because I wanted to get outside of the beauty realm. 'Cause it, you know. But yeah, those are pro bono. Those are just for fun. I've shot a couple of videos for like smaller brands. But yeah, nothing big. It's mostly the brand deals coming in. Yeah.
I know it's rude to ask a lady what her age is, but you look very, very young, and I'm just trying to like do the math in my mind. Do you mind just telling us how old you are?
How old do I look?
You look like 23 years old.
Okay.
Are you 23?
No, I'm 26.
Okay.
Me too.
Oh.
Yeah,
Me
26.
too. What a coincidence.
Yeah, there you
There's
go.
3 of us that are 26 years old. Holy cow. It's amazing. Okay. So there's not that you need to. I mean, gosh, you're making money. You're doing big brand deals, and you got a lot of influence that I think with a little bit of adjustment, you can exchange that influence for money without changing who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you're actually more of an artist, that you make things because they fulfill some creative need inside your soul, and that you don't worry too much about what you call your titles except for something that inspires you. And I think that's inspiring in itself. So I think just with a little tweak here and there, you're just raking in that cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never really treated it like a business.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's all he does. So
What are you talking about?
you look at everything like a business.
No, not everything. Not my son.
Okay, one.
Okay, keep going, Matthew.
No, I think that's it. So it sounds like we've exhausted that a little bit. We've unpacked that. So it sounds like there's a lot of sources, even potential sources, for you to make some income with the influence that you have, with the audience that you have, and the position that you have. Because I think the trends in all industries are kind of aligning with what you represent.
Yeah.
So if we look at food and beauty and products, everything is anti-mass production, cruelty-free, ethical, right? Like all of these things are huge anti-trends that are actually becoming more of the majority. And I think for you, having already built up this brand for many, many years, can capitalize on that quite well. So I think there's a lot of brands out there that can align with you, and I think you have plenty of opportunities in the coming years to grow that. So I just wanted to put that out there, just because I feel like what's awesome about Madelynn is that she's taken a stand, she's taken a position, and she's very clear about that. She has ethics, and she won't bend just for $1.
Nope.
You know,
Not for $35,000.
not even for
That's a
35.
lot of that's a lot of dollars. So.
There's a lot of compelling
dollars.
reasons.
Yeah, a lot of compelling reasons. But I think just from talking to you, you have a good head on your shoulders, and if you navigate that properly, you could really capitalize and grow as a brand. So I don't know. That was my line of questioning for money. Chris, are there any questions from the audience that we should answer?
I'm sure there are plenty, since that's Ricky's job. I don't know if he's done any of that, but Ricky?
Yeah, so what are some of the hardships that you find when just doing this full time? So I know you were working part-time as a YouTuber, but now you're doing full-time. So what are some challenges that come with just doing it full-time?
Well, when I was with Ipsy, I was basically working from home, so I was doing the same thing pretty much. And I'm still trying to figure out how to work from home. I think that's like the biggest challenge I have.
What do you mean, like just staying inside all day?
Yeah, having like a work-life balance, because social media, my life is work in a way. And so having to separate the two has been difficult. But yeah, I think that's the hardest.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, you have a nervous fidget, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
Stop it.
Okay.
All right. Put that away.
Are there
Okay,
any other
what
questions?
else? Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of questions. I just wanted to ask you, somebody put this in the comments, is that, have you had to deal with feeling like you're an imposter? Like you feel like you just, do I belong here? Is this the right place? Besides being here today.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that and how you got over it?
Yeah.
Thank you. This is awkward.
It was awkward.
No.
Yeah, like so at Ipsy, for example, we would have shoots, and we would have to go on shoots, and it was really difficult for me to be in front of the camera and sort of have to like act in a way for like more commercial things, and I always felt really uncomfortable doing stuff like that. So I have a hard time with that, being in front of the camera when someone else is directing me and their vision. It's hard for me to be in that space and feel comfortable and confident. And also, like, I've been asked to help go on some shoots where I'm just like, I don't belong here. Like, I'm not as successful.
Why do you feel like that?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I think like every creative has that, where they think that they're just not good enough. But yeah, I've kind of gone through that like crazy this year. Yeah, just.
And are you on your way out of it, or are you?
Yeah, I think so.
What helped you get out of that?
Well, I think it's pushing myself to do the daily vlogs and just putting it out there and getting rid of perfection. Yeah.
So if you're on set and you're feeling like, gosh, do I belong here? There's so many esteemed professional people with a lot more experience than me.
Yeah.
But you have a job to do. You have to get on camera, or you have to direct, or you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
So in the moment, I'm just curious, what are the thoughts that are going on inside your head?
Of me not feeling.
No, like, how do you get over it? Like, what does it sound like, and how does one get out of that? Because if you can answer that, I want to bottle it and sell it.
I don't even know if I have an answer. I'd have to think about it.
Okay, I'll give you
0.2 seconds.
I'll give you another few seconds to think about it.
Okay.
Or you can just talk about it in real time, and we can just find it together. Yeah, we can talk through it.
Yeah. So basically, like how I get out of my head.
Yeah, first tell us, like, what does it sound like inside your head? Pretend there's like a VO, happening over.
Yeah, just that I'm not good enough, or I don't belong there, or these people are so much more experienced than I am. They know more about cameras than I do. I'm a girl, I don't, I think that's like a big one.
Okay.
Probably for a lot of women.
I think that's the same way.
Yeah.
All the time. And then take me through the bridge here.
I think, I feel like I'm still kind of learning how to get over that, because even working at the Apple store, you have people, like I worked at the Apple store before I moved to LA.
Right.
And even being in that space, I feel like I didn't trust myself a lot, or I would go to one of the guys and be like, hey, can you help this person? Stuff like that. So, and people just not trusting you or believing you when it comes to technology and stuff.
Do they say or do things that make you feel this way, or is it just all inside your own brain?
No. I had, this one guy came in one night and he needed a charger for his computer. So I asked him what computer he had. It was a laptop. And he told me which one he had, and there are different chargers for different size computers.
Right.
And I said, "Sir, you're going to need this one." And he said, "No, I don't think that's right." And I was like, "No, it's this one. This is the one that you need." I think I said it like 3 or 4 times, and he just kept saying, "No, I don't think that's the right one." And one of my coworkers was walking past me, and I was like, "Hey, can you tell him which charger he needs?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, you need this one." He's like, "Oh, great."
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I was so upset after that because
Okay.
it was just so blatantly obvious.
That's just sexism.
Yeah.
That's not about whether... That's just wrong, period.
Right.
That's wrong, and you shouldn't have to deal with that. And obviously, you're trained to like deal with situations like that. But does that feed into your own mind then?
Yes,
That,
all
oh
the
my
time.
gosh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, girl.
Yeah. I think it's just like feeling like my hard-earned truth isn't mine. Like something
Oh my
that
gosh.
I know that I know, but as soon as somebody questions it, I just like kind of cower. I'm like, yeah.
I'm the same way.
Okay. Talk about it then.
That's all I got.
That's it.
Okay.
Oh no, well, I feel like when I'm talking to someone and they say, "Oh yeah, it's this and this," I feel like I just all of a sudden don't know anything,
Right.
and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so that's what it actually is. Cool. I'll just forget everything." It's like sometimes I just don't notice it, and it's just become who I am. So if I could just trying to be more cognizant of it and then trusting myself. So it kind of made me not trust myself.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a thought for both you ladies and anybody
Cool.
else that's watching, listening here. So I do this little exercise. If I asked you, hey, or somebody came up to you and told you, you're a Martian, would you believe them?
No.
You're purple, would you believe them?
No.
So why is it when somebody comes up to you and says, you don't know what you're talking about, lady, that's the wrong charger, why do you believe them?
I think it's when it's in a male-dominated space, you kind of feel like you're already not supposed to be there. So when someone kind of, yeah. This is making me sad.
Way to pick it up, Chris.
Oh,
Thank you very
wow.
much. No, so here's the thought, is that those things resonate inside our brain because some part of us feels that way.
Yeah.
Like you don't accept being a Martian or being purple, but then you're like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And then that statement itself is going out on Twitter later today. That hard-earned truth is not mine. That's
Yeah.
such a sad, sad statement.
Yeah.
What do we do about this? Because there's a generation of creatives and female creatives that are going to have to deal with this. So how do we address this problem?
Does anyone want to chime in? Matthew?
No, we just talk about it. Well, for me, I used to think the truth is the truth. And now I think, the truth, what is the truth? The truth is based on whatever we think we know at this one point in time. And if you just look at food science, it goes all over the place. Sugar's bad for you. Sugar's good for you. It's bad for you. It's bad for you.
It's bad for you.
For you, by the
Yeah.
way.
Don't
Anyways,
eat sugar.
so it depends on what it is. So there's this idea of truth being absolute, and I don't know about that. So if we understand that not everything is true or what we believe to be true is true, why don't we just accept a different truth, the truth that makes us powerful, happy, and comfortable with ourselves?
That's easier said than done.
Oh, I know. But I'm just saying, as from a logical Vulcan mind, such as myself, I just sit there and think, oh, okay, so here's what I think. Your mind is like this temple, this gateway, and we should be more diligent and vigilant when we stand in front of it and allow thoughts that are hurtful to us inside our brain. The metaphor I make is like you're the bouncer of a really, happening super hip bar or club. Everybody wants in. All the riffraff, all the drug dealers, all the criminals, they want to get in. And your job as the bouncer out front is to say, you know what? No, we're not going to let you in.
What are some practical tips we can do?
Well, you have to be present to say, like, this thought that's about to enter into my brain, like, who's saying this? Why do I care what they say? Is this fact or opinion? Does this help or hurt me? And if all those things are not an affirmative yes, you smile, I'm like, okay, you just let it go. But you don't let it enter your brain.
Yeah. Okay,
Right?
I see what
You see what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like a process. So this is about being aware of your state of mind and things that come in. And I know our emotions want to react, and we don't seem to have control over that. So what we need to do is, if we're talking about film, we just need to slow the frame rate down a little bit so we can examine each moment and say, why are we doing it this way? Maybe we should hit cut and stop and wait for the truck to drive by before we expose the film again. See how I did that right there? Film.
that's really clever.
So Chris, that's being super self-aware.
Yes.
And that's huge.
Comes with age.
Yes. So how does somebody who's a young person get to the point where they're more self-aware so they can see those bad people trying to enter the nightclub and you can be like, no. So give us some tips to be more self-aware.
Yes. So the first thing I would say is you need to surround yourself with some positive people who have that kind of mindset. And it rubs off on you. It really does. I mean, you are kind of the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're around really pessimistic people who are always questioning themselves and just feeling like whenever something can go wrong, they assume that that's what's going to happen. So you have to divorce yourself from some of those people, hang around with positive people, and start to see like, that's what they're doing. And each time, I think we could all use a mentor in our life. It could be a parent, a teacher, a friend, a charismatic person on television, like Madelynn. You know, it's like you watch and you're like, wow, that really resonates with me. I connect with her and I want to learn from her, and she's super cool and I want to be like her. So we need positive role models in our real and virtual life. And then we start to just learn and we sit there and think, go through that process, right? I'll share something with you that my therapist shared with me. And my wife is busy being the caretaker for the family, and sometimes she can feel like taken advantage of, and rightfully so. So the first thing is, like, when somebody says something, you have to ask yourself, was the request made of me? So if my son walks in the room and is like, I'm hungry, I just sit there and do what I do. My wife springs into action and she's like, oh my God, let me, eggs, omelet, what do you want? And goes through a litany of options for my little boy. So the first thing that she's supposed to do is say, was a request being made of me? I'm hungry is not a request. It's not directed to you. It's a command to nobody. So don't hear it. So you just shut it down. So you go through a series of questions like that, and sooner than later, you start to realize, my God, a lot of this is self-inflicted. So first, was a request made of me? No. So if he says, Mom, I'm hungry, now it was at least directed to me. I'm hungry is not necessarily a request. Mom, can you make me pizza? Okay, that's a request. So the next question you ask yourself is, can I do this? Well, I don't have the ingredients, so now I still don't need to respond. Mom, can you make me a sandwich, please? Okay, I can do this. The last thing is, now you can say, well, how do I want to respond? No, I'm busy right now. Or, yes, I'd love to make you a sandwich. So you just slow down the thought process a little bit, and you have a little bit more self-awareness. Would that help you, Madelynn?
Yes, thank you.
Same here.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think there's a key thing in there, and I like the surrounding yourself with positive people, because I've definitely noticed that for myself.
Yeah.
Just working here, the only reason why I'm still working here with you, Chris, is because I feel like I'm surrounded by very smart people who are helping
Thank
me
you.
grow. If it wasn't that way, the moment I feel like I'm the smartest, nicest person here, I'm gonna bounce. I'm gonna quit. But I don't ever feel that way, because I feel like I'm surrounded by a tribe of people that are pushing me in the right direction. And I think you said another thing about mentorship, and I think that's very powerful, because, Chris, you've been a mentor to me, as I'm sure you have been for a lot of people online. When you hear somebody else who has gone through the trials and tribulations, the challenges of life, and have seen them conquered it and have become confident because of that, then it's very powerful. So I'll give you an example for myself. Chris, I know you've gone through these moments where you felt like an imposter in certain situations, where you're in boardrooms with very powerful people who are not your race or ethnicity, or don't come from the same place as you, and you feel like an imposter in that room. When you tell that story and I see who you are today, I could resonate that and reflect to that, because I've been in those same situations where I'm in boardrooms and it's like, dude, nobody's going to listen to me. Why does anybody care what I have to say? But because I've seen you as a mentor, as an example out there, I've been able to get over that. It's like, I don't care what they think. I'm coming in as an equal. I'm coming in as an expert. That is the reason why I have been invited here.
Is it because you see Chris as somebody who's not a white male and has thrived in that space that you two think now, like, okay, so he's done it, now I can do it?
I think there's a little bit of that. I could resonate and relate to Chris. He has a similar story to his upbringing that sounds similar to me. So when I see somebody who's like me accomplishing something that I felt like I couldn't, then it's very empowering for me. So just to bring it back to Madelynn, I know, Madelynn, there were moments on set where you feel like, what am I doing here? But the thing is, you were invited there.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You know, you're there. There's a reason you're there, and because you bring great value to that set.
Because you're amazing.
Right, exactly. So I think a lot of people, they don't realize that because they're so in the weeds and they don't step back and realize the situation that they're in. If they got invited to speak, to share their mind on something, that's because the other person actually values them as an equal.
Yeah.
Is there somebody in your life that constantly bombards you with positive affirmations? I'm just curious.
I mean, yeah, I have a good friend who I'm close with who is like really encouraging, and she always it's Christine. And she actually, my stomach's growling, she actually suggested the 30-day challenge thing.
Nice.
And like my parents are very supportive too.
Yeah.
But
Do you trust them?
Yeah, I do.
Do they have your best interests at heart?
Yeah.
So when some monkey Neanderthal dragging his knuckles across the floor full of his sexism and hatred, you just remember those people and their words.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's like, why would you trust a monkey like that?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to bring up something here. It's not even a question, but an opportunity for you to respond or not even. David Coe was saying, you know, what happened to you is not an isolated incident, but something that women in our society have to deal with. It's a constant and continuous bombardment of sexism in our culture. So it's not impossible, but it is freaking hard for women in our society. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Especially women of color.
Yeah.
They have it worse. So yeah, they have it coming from like all sides. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's sad. I don't know.
All right, everybody, get the razor blades out. Draw yourself a warm bath. I believe wine helps.
No, I think everybody deals with some form of that, and I'm not trying to equate everybody's experiences to each other, because everybody has a very different experience and what they have to deal with, their adversities. And, you know, it's more difficult for other people than it is for us. But like even for you and me, Chris, I know you've shared stories with us about dealing with racism on the playground growing up, and I dealt with the same exact thing. You know, where my whole identity felt like I wasn't the person that I thought I was. You know, growing up, and I'm like 6-7 years old, no one would refer to me to my name. They'd say, "Hey, Chinese kid, pass us the ball." I'm like, dude, first of all, my name's Matthew. I'm Filipino, and you know, I have a name. And so I dealt with that for a long time, where I felt like I was very marginalized. And I think everybody in their life, they go through these weird adversities, especially if you're a fish out of water, or if you're not part of the majority. You feel that pressure, and it's on different levels.
Yeah.
But through a lot of great examples and a lot of exposure and the optics of seeing, you know, female editors, creators like yourself, Madelynn, I think you start to become a beacon, and then you start to see every other person fall in line. You start to see females who come out of the dark and start getting confident. And I'll give you another example of this. Ronda Rousey, as polarizing as she is, she put women's MMA fighting on the map.
100%.
Because of her, there are so many talented fighters who have come out of the woodwork, who's been training since they were little girls, and have become superstars as a result of that. She's not the only one. There's been plenty of other people, but she's just one example of someone who has passed that threshold, realizes the optics that are on her, and has created very positive influence for an audience that has been marginalized and feel like they can't play in that space. So I encourage people like you, Madelynn, who just be that beacon, you know what I mean? And just keep doing what you're doing, because that example, just having that optics, seeing someone like you, is inspiring a bunch of people right now.
Also, what I heard too is just that like Madelynn started really early, and that was before she knew that she couldn't be an editor, or that she wasn't supposed to be an editor, because it's a male dominated field. So I also think like starting early before you have all of that oppression is a huge tool. Because a young mind just has no idea that is a boys club. So to anybody that's listening out there, just start without any preconceived notions and then worry about it later.
I think you just tapped into Madelynn's mission as to why she was attracted to being a teacher. The mind is open. Well, the mind is open. And instead of filling with garbage, you can open it up to more possibilities, right? Awareness, something that's ethical, fair-minded.
Yeah, totally.
All those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's why kids are great.
Yeah, they are. They're so fun.
Yeah, they are.
How old is your son?
I have 2 boys. One is 15 and one is 12.
Oh,
So they're not that little anymore. It's almost over. Like they smell bad now. It's like, you shower? I mean, today. Did you shower today? Not in your lifetime, but today. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're kind of coming out of that little dark area. We're at an hour 10 right now. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss? Anything from our audience, or should we start wrapping this up?
I'm good here.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that are coming in. Some of them are not appropriate, so I'm glad Madelynn's not reading these things.
Like what?
No, just like they're stupid. Just dumb boy stuff in here, I see.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah. Let's see here. There's some good stuff in here. Is there anything that you want to talk about, promote, anything that's fantastic and fun and new for you?
No, I'm just daily vlogging right now on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm posting a video once a day for 30 days, trying to get myself out of my creative funk. So that's what I'm doing right now. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I want to end, at least from a comment point of view, not the show necessarily, but Dave Coe saying he loved how this episode turned out. It got warm and deep unexpectedly, and it was really cool. He's like, you seem like a very well-adjusted person. You've earned his subscription, by the way. And he said you're very humble and vulnerable, and there's a side of her that is very endearing that your audience is drawn to.
Thank you.
So
That's
we like
so
that about
sweet.
you.
Thank you.
I said
really
that had
appreciate
nothing
it.
to do with David. Yes.
Thank
David
you.
who? Yes. Okay, Matthew, what do you want to do?
No, I think that's it. I think we could wrap here. If we want to just jump back to our slides. If you want to follow Madelynn, you could find her on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Here are her handles.
Go do that, guys. Go give her some
Yeah,
likes and
definitely
some,
go subscribe
subscribers.
to her. She's
LA
been-
Madelynn.
She doesn't ask for them, so we'll ask for her.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And as always for us, just like, subscribe, and share. That really helps us out. Erica, can you take us out on this? So I just want to say some parting words. Thank you so much, Madelynn, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. I really
And-
appreciate it.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun. I'm glad where this discussion went because I feel moved right now. I feel great.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know. I feel like very positive. So
Get
I'm
prune
pretty
juice this
happy.
morning.
Yeah, so
He said he feels moved.
that's right.
Not in the booth.
Not in the-
Yes.
It's a nice movie.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next time on Raw.
Yay.